have been on Guiding Lights, but we are coming back, and we are coming back with more information. For those who are new to the show, my name is Alexis Nelson, and you are joining us on Guiding Lights, where we spread awareness for all communities when it pertains to exceptional abilities. We find this place a place of resources, a place of hope, a place where you can just talk about some things or ask questions about things that you may not know about. So, what we do here is we bring on people that's in the community, those who are in the community, working in the community, who have experience in the community. We also bring in different professionals to speak to this community. I always say this ability does not mean inability. And we are so excited to have back with us Miss Courtney Ogletree. She will be talking to us on a really good topic that we kind of touched on before, but it is so important. And if you didn't know, she has an amazing story. An amazing story. And I love it. If you missed her on last time, make sure you go back and watch the replay where she speaks on things that she's currently living. So today's topic will be curating your village and why it is important for personal growth and well-being. And so, Courtney, if you can kind of just give a little background about who you are, and then we can get into the topic so people can get a reminder of who you are and why this topic is so important for you.
I am Courtney Ogletree. I am Samuel Nelson, his significant other, his fiance, also the mother of Samuel Nelson Jr. He is a amazing 6-year-old. As I hear his machine making some weird noise out in the background, that's our life, right? That's our life. I'm wondering what's going on. Um, he is an amazing 6-year-old that has spinal muscular atrophy type 1, which is a rare genetic disease that involves the motor neurons and the gene, the SMN1 gene, and the lack thereof in the body, which it is a neurological, spinal, neurological, and muscular skeletal disease. It affects the muscles in the body, which, of course, as we know, pretty much affects everything in the body because everything actually is a muscle almost in your body in one form or another. So, that being said, this journey in this life of being Samuel's mother has opened up uh, many different avenues for me. Some that I did in my previous life before I had Samuel and before he was diagnosed with this rare disease, um, and some that I've learned and grown in since we received his diagnosis. I have always been, in one way or another, since graduating college in the healthcare field. I did my bachelor's at Indiana University in health administration, and I got a certificate from Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis in health systems management, and then I got my master's degree at Indiana Wesleyan in business administration with a healthcare specialization. So my background was always in the healthcare field in a professional manner. It wasn't until I had Samuel and we received his diagnosis that I kind of saw it from the other perspective, as a parent and as a caregiver, as my role changed from working in the professional area of healthcare to actually becoming Samuel's a full-time caregiver, mother, and full-time caregiver. And I always like to say that in a way because a lot of times, I've heard individuals in the past say, well, that's your job. You're a mom. That's your job to take care of your children. That's your job to do this. That's your job to do that. You know, that's just part of the responsibilities of being a mom. But from the medical side, caregiving on a medical level is so much more than caregiving as the mother. Of course, we give everything to our children, without a doubt. But going over and beyond, mother duties on a regular basis, that when you're in a caregiving role providing medical care, it's a whole nother area and a whole nother realm. So I like to say, yes, I am his mother, and he is absolutely everything to me, just like, um, my other children. But I am also his full-time caregiver, which is a whole nother role in itself. But I'm happy to be here, today, because this topic is one that, even though I know that it's talked about, I feel like it just needs to be talked about more, because the life that we live, and that I know that many of you who follow this show live, or know individuals who live it, can be at times very isolating. Not because of any one particular reason, but at times you can find yourself, um, lonely. Your circle becomes very small, and that's okay. It's it has to be, understood when you have, complex medical needs, or you're caring for an individual that has complex needs. um, Many times you're very involved in lots of things, and you're not able to be available, um, for friends or family or other things that's going on. And so you kind of start to live in your own little bubble, and kind of just, I'm taking care of this, I'm doing this, I'm involved in this, and some of the other things kind of fall off on the wayside, not because you want them to, but just because human capacity, we can only do so much. We can only have so many irons in the fire. And so at times this life, can be lonely, and, you can look around and be like, I used to have all these friends, and I used to do all of these things, and I used to be going everywhere, and I barely leave the house now, or I only travel in a small circle. And sometimes that can be, disheartening or discouraging. And so I really want to hit on this topic, because I feel like, um, sometimes in the dialogue that I have, at least in the circles that I frequently travel in, that's a lot of the feedback that I hear. Oh, I'm just, I never get to have, um, peer to peer conversation, or I feel like I never see my friends anymore, or, I used to do all of these things, and now I barely, can even get out of the house without doing this and this and this to get there. And so I think that this is a really good topic, and one that, we could probably talk forever about.
So true, so true. And like I said, I'm glad that you're on here. We have to have these conversations. Some conversations are uncomfortable for certain people. It's like I call it like I don't like to parent shame. So sometimes we see that in our community, a lot of parent shaming,
Yes.
where it makes it uncomfortable to kind of really say how you feel,
Right.
or to say, you know what, I'm tired. I need a break. I'm overwhelmed. I'm this, but we don't want to seem like we're bad moms, or we don't want the stigma that goes, because why should you be tired? That's what you're supposed to do. You're the mom, as you were saying earlier. And it's something that we do need to continue to have the conversation about, because more people in silence are suffering,
Right.
because they're unable to have that village that you're talking about. And that's what I want to start off with. Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean to curate your village, and why is it important for personal growth and well-being?
Yes. And how I kind of want to go about this is, I've split it into three areas of how I want to hit on this topic, because I think that it evolves over time, and it evolves over the journey. And I know that everyone's experiences are different, so I want everyone to take what I have to say. I'm no expert, I just live it every day. And so I kind of want to preface everything that I say with that. I'm not an expert, and I don't, I don't have all these journaled articles that I've written and all of this and that, but I do live it every day. And I've lived it every day for now over 6 years. And this journey that we have been on, it started out one way and it's grown and it's evolved and it's developed into what it is now. So how I want to have this conversation this evening is I want to kind of break it into three pieces, so that if an individual is in one of these, three areas of their journey, it might make more sense to them. Because as we all know, as things progress and as we get older and as we've been dealing with this for a longer period of time, then things are more familiar, and we're able to, handle things differently and than we might have handled them in the very beginning. So that's how I'm kind of going to go about the way that I feel, um, building our community and my community along the traveling of the journey that we've been on. In the very beginning, when Samuel was first diagnosed, it was an unbelievable time of heartbreak and of unknown things. We had no idea about anything that was going on, and it was happening so fast. But what I do remember in the beginning, as I kind of reflect, you go through things and you kind of put them to the side and you say, at some point I'll get it out and I'll think about it, and I'll and I'll dissect it, and I'll understand it a little bit more. But that comes in pieces for me, because we lived in such an unbelievable time in the beginning that we kind of put it aside and said, I'll get to it and I'll think about it when that time comes. But in the very beginning, a few of the things that I remembered early on, um, was that our care team immediately after diagnosis, in the midst of trying to get treatment started and trying to address Samuel's immediate medical needs that had to be addressed immediately, one of the first things that was said to me by Samuel's care team was that they wanted us to immediately connect with not only the organization, the nationwide organization that supports individuals that have SMA and their families, but they also wanted us to connect with a few local families that they knew, um, that had the same diagnosis and children around Samuel's age. So they always, of course, will ask you in the process of the beginning of the journey if you would be willing to, if it would be okay for them to share your information with other families if it's requested. That's always asked. And so they said to me, and early on after Samuel's diagnosis, if I was interested in getting a few names of individuals in the community who had children about Samuel's age, who had just gone through similar diagnosis and similar situations that we have gone through. And I said, of course, and I took their information along with taking the information from the nationwide organization that supports us. I didn't immediately, the only thing I immediately did is I immediately sent an email to the organization to give them our information, because they send a care package with all of the with a binder full of information about the disease and various resources available to families. So I wanted to make sure and send that email right away, because I wanted to get as much information in my hands as possible to learn as much about the disease as I could, since I never had heard of it before. I immediately sent that email, but I didn't immediately contact the families of the individuals that my care team said, okay, here are three families that are willing for us to give you their name and contact numbers, and feel free to reach out to them once you guys kind of get settled into life. They're available just to talk to, or to ask questions, or just to know somebody, just to have people that you can call and reach out to. I didn't call those numbers until about a month and a half after Samuel was diagnosed. It took me about a month and a half of kind of us getting our footing and getting situated at home with this new life and this caregiving routine that we had to start doing and all of the things. I didn't immediately call those numbers, but I had them on hand. And I knew at any point in time when I was ready, I could reach out to them. And so it took me about 6 weeks to do that in the very beginning. But just the fact that I had them on hand was comforting to me.
So I have a question for you. You talked about the hesitancy. So if you can go back in that space in that moment and add language to it, what was the first thing that came to your thoughts when it came to reaching out to other families experiencing this
Yes.
particular disease that you said you knew nothing about?
I think that the hesitancy was not even. I'm a very outgoing and social person. I love to meet new people and build relationships and all that type of thing. So I don't think the hesitancy was because of I'm an introvert and I just try to stay to myself. I think the hesitancy was just it was such an overwhelming period of time that I felt like I didn't even know where to start. Picking up the phone or making the phone call or sending an email to a family who I had gotten their information because their child was diagnosed within a matter of months of Samuel's diagnosis. It was just, I was in a place where I was like, I don't even know how to even start this conversation. Not because I don't know how to talk to people. I think it was just, I was so flooded with all of the emotions of that initial diagnosis and how our life was rapidly changing from day to day because of everything going on, that I just felt like I can't even get it in my head in the space to even reach out and have a conversation right now. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where it was like, I really want to reach out to this family, but I don't even know where to start except for I was given your information and our son just was diagnosed and hey, hi, how are you? Where can we go from here? You know what? And I know that that sounds funny, but I do remember that first time I reached out to the one family, and it was so amazing when we started talking. And within a matter of a week or two, they were headed to Louisville for medical appointments. And we met for a late lunch, all of us, the two families together at a restaurant after their medical appointment. And we were all able to meet in person. And
Mhm,
from that point forward, we have had such a wonderful, close relationship. Um, I consider her one of my closest, dearest friends, and
mhm,
I look at our kids as best buddies. And it's
mhm.
really because of that connection that we had from that moment where we were both so vulnerable because of what we were going through, but we had each other, that it from the moment we actually did connect, it's been amazing ever since. It was just making that initial connection.
So now just a follow-up to that. So for those who are out there watching, and we're talking about this cultivating your village, right? Um, Many times people don't know, like you said, where. So where do I start? I have this all this news that is life changing, is
Yes.
transforming, and
Yes.
there's so many areas, so many things that I'm trying to grasp, right? So how do you identify the right people to include in your village, or your support network? How would you, if you had to let someone else know, okay, so this is what you need to do, because we know everybody is not for everybody,
Everybody's not for everybody. And I'll
right?
be honest with you. Um, Sometimes they kind of filter their way out without you having to do anything at all. I mean, and I hate to say it like that, but um, what I've learned is my circle, it gets smaller and smaller. And you have I look at it as you have certain people that are in your life at different times for different reasons. They all have a season, and it's nothing personal. I look at my relationships across the board have all changed in the past 6 years. um, some of them have grown. Some of them have become uh, a daily thing that I count on. Some are brand new. Some of my older relationships have gone away totally, and I'm okay with that. Not because of a moment of discontent or a fight or any particular negative thing happening. But everybody has their own life and they all have their own things going on. And we have to be able to look at that and say, you know what, even if people aren't sharing, their struggles or sharing their journey or what's happening in their life, we have to understand that everybody has their lives and everybody has things going on, whether they're sharing them or not. And some people just don't have the capacity to be there in one way or another. And sometimes those relationships go away. And we have to be okay with that and not take it personal, because it's not a personal thing. It's one of those things that it's just life. People evolve and become involved in what they have going on with their family or with their job or with other things. And it may not involve you, and what I have going on in my life may not involve them. And I have to be okay with that. That being said, you also have the friends that even when you go through the most stuff, even when you are hit with what seems to be um, unbelievable situations on a daily basis, and it's like every day something's happening. You have some friends that are there at the drop of a hat every single time. That's what they do. And you know that all you have to do is make a phone call, or you know send an email or a message or a text, and you know that they're going to respond. And those are the ones that create that community, that solid inner circle. And like I said, it doesn't have to be huge. We don't have to say, "Oh my gosh, everywhere I go, I've got people everywhere." I've got all these people that are ready and willing to jump in at the drop of the hat, and I never, any which way I turn, I have that. Generally, in our world, in our community, that's not the case. We all know that generally our circles are small. And some of us, it's been harder to accept, based on the fact that, oh, I used to have it like this, and I used to do this, and my previous life used to involve all these things, and now I don't get to do anything. And that's a hard reality at times for people to accept. And that's what we have to end up then working through. But like in our community, we have a mom's support group that all of our children have this diagnosis in one form or in one type or another, treated or untreated, various ages. We are all linked up through a private group on Facebook, and we also have some of the other social media platforms that we follow each other on. And that solid group of, now, oh my gosh, I'd have to look now, I think our mom's group is over 1,000 members at any point in time. And I can, this is such an amazing conversation to have tonight, because just this past weekend I had to use my community to save the day. And I want to tell a story real quick. But at any point in time, we can reach out online to our mom's group, our SMA Mom Strong support group, which is part of the t-shirt that I have on tonight. And we can leave a message, or we can reach out, and someone always responds very quickly, whether it's in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, or anywhere. And as an illustration, this past weekend, we've been traveling a lot lately. And that's one thing about our family. Whether or not we have to load up the van and with all of Samuel's medical equipment, oh, we're going to do it. We travel. It doesn't stop us. We continue to live our life. Well, Kale, our older son, he is a travel basketball player, and we travel all over for his basketball. Well, this past weekend, and we travel all the time, and I am a master packer. I pack everything. I don't forget anything. I have everything, and I even have extras in the van. I make sure of it. This past weekend, Kale had a tournament right outside of Cincinnati. And I think in my mind, because it's not so far from us, just about an hour and a half, 2 hours total, I'm like, oh, this isn't a major big trip. We're good. I packed up the bags real quick. I got everything in the van. We were ready to go. We got up there Saturday evening, dropped him off at the gym, went to check into the hotel. Unpacking Samuel's equipment, I realized that I packed everything except for his mask that he sleeps on a BiPAP, which is a ventilator similar to a CPAP machine, but it's a Trilogy Evo is a BiPAP machine. He sleeps on it at night. It's really just to give him rest and to keep his lungs open so he can rest and get the best rest as possible. Now, when he's sick, of course, he wears it much more, but when he's well, he just wears it when he's sleeping, and it just helps him to rest easy and breathe freely. Well, I got all the machines out of the car and realized that I had the Trilogy Evo, the BiPAP machine, but I did not have his mask. I didn't have his mask. And I immediately just was beating myself up about it. Like, this never happens. I never forget Samuel's machines. I'm obsessive about packing. I can't believe this happened. So I immediately start just I'm trying to find a solution. I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm calling Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and they're like, well, is he a current patient? Well, no. Well, he'll have to be admitted through the ER for us to help you. All of the home medical equipment places in Cincinnati are all closed. It's Saturday evening at 5:30 p.m. No one's open. I reach out to our medical supply company here in Louisville, to our on-call person, and he's like, Courtney, I would say check at CVS. I think they have some masks that they sell over the counter, this and that. We don't have a site up there. I can't get one to you. I'm pulling hair. I'm thinking I'm going to have to drive back home tonight after Kale's games, and his games were late. I mean, they didn't even finish till 10 o'clock. I'm going to have to drive back to Louisville and get Samuel's mask after Kale's games. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to get on the page, the mom's group page, and I'm going to say, any Cincinnati area mamas available, I need a WISP BiPAP mask. Anyone available that I could link up with to get a mask. I'm fingers crossed, because all these kids, they all use different machines. They're all different sizes. Whether or not someone has one that they're not using, that's just in stock in their house. Some are, some of us try to keep some stashed on the side just to have readily available, just in case of an emergency like this. So I put the message out on the page, and I said a prayer and said, "Good, I know that that God will provide. He will see us through, and that we will get this taken care of tonight. I know it. I know it." And then I went and watched Kale's game, and I looked back on the page, and I had 2 moms comment. And one of them was sending pictures left and right. Is this the one you need? Is this what you need? Is this the tubing that you need? Is this the mask you need? And I kept responding, yes, that's it. Yes. And she said, I got you. She said, but I don't want you to have to miss your son's game, because I have, we never want to miss our kids' activities. She said, just let me know when you finish up and we'll link up. I don't care how late. We're night owls. I don't care how late it is. I'll get you the mask. And I was just in tears, because that's what it is right there. I've never had to reach out to the moms group for anything. I'm usually the one responding, saying, I have something, I can bring it to you. I've never had to ask, I need this. I'm kind of in a sticky situation here. And I ended up having to, and Johnny on the spot, one of the other moms came, she came and met me at 11 o'clock Saturday night with her children in tow. She said, we're night owls. We're up usually really late. They wanted to come on and drive with me. So they came along and brought me the mask, and Samuel slept beautifully Saturday night. And the one thing she said to me was, because I said, how much do I owe you? Please, I can give you gas money. I can pay you for the mask. What do I owe you? You have been an angel to be able to meet us and bring us this mask. And she said no. She said, we recently went on a trip to Florida, and I had a situation with my daughter's formula, and I didn't have her food as something had happened. And she said, I put it on the page, and one of the moms brought me formula for my daughter. And I said, and she saved the day because we didn't have any food for her daughter for the trip. And she said, I thought to myself, you know what? This is my opportunity, to give back. She helped me with my daughter's formula. Now she needs a mask. It's my opportunity to pay it forward. And that's how the community works. And that's the beautiful part about this life, is being able to build the relationships and to build your community. So when situations like this happen, you know where to turn, and you know that someone will be there for you.
That's absolutely awesome. Which leads me to my next question, the community. And you gave a really good example of how the community was there for you to step up. Now, how does having this, cultivating this community help you with self care? I
Yes.
know earlier you discussed meeting a young lady that was able to do Samuel's hair.
Yes.
And, I know to some people that may not seem like, oh, I mean, he's just getting his hair done. But it's different in our communities. It really is. And for someone to have the wherewithal to be able to do that, that in itself gives me self-care because I'm not so okay. Jesus. Oh, this is going to be,
I
like,
know.
oh my, oh Lord. Yeah. So when I'm talking self care, I'm not just talking about when normal, other people may think about like going to get your nails done, getting your feet, no, I'm talking about that internal self care that happens because these angels that come in our lives that do something that maybe not seem as miraculous to others, but it's like a huge miracle for us.
Yes, it is.
So, can you talk about
I
that a
can.
little bit?
Yes, because that has been, for me, one of the most amazing things that has happened in the past few months. Samuel has absolutely beautiful hair. And we have been on a journey with this hair because Samuel, when he was sick a few years ago, he had this beautiful hair, and then he lost the beautiful hair when he had some issues with his diet and nutrition, which was heartbreaking for me and all of us to see, him to lose a lot of his hair. But now it's come all back, and it's gorgeous and it's long. But it is it's a process because to do and to get Samuel bathed for one, and his hair shampooed and conditioned and brushed is a whole nother step. And even though he's now, since he's had his spinal rods placed, and he's straight, which is an amazing thing. We're not fighting the curve all the time. It still takes a lot of hands to get Samuel's hair taken care of. And I used to be able to do it on my own when he was much smaller. But now he's growing, and we are thrilled. He's 6 years old, and he's almost. I mean, now he's over 45 pounds, and he is